Any movies listeners should know about? Just a quick checklist of anything you'd want to hip them to.
I guess one of our latest tangents is the Misty Monday movies.
Those are good new ones. Don't check out what is Spider Babe.
That's a
DVD. Great one. Yeah. Spider Babe is great.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean that's the other thing too, is that it doesn't have to be horror movies, and it can be actual good movies too that are worth seeing.
I know they're making a movie about the Cramps right now. It's going to be a Misty Monday. Is going to play Ivy, and Jim Carrey is playing me, and it's directed by Tinto Brass. It's going to be amazing.
Are you serious?
Well, right now it's only in my mind, but it's coming soon.
Coming to an imaginary double feature near you.
The musical lens. Now there's one that I'd love to find too.
Oh yeah, on Blue Feather. Yeah, that's a tough one. But
we have one, but we don't have the one.
You didn't know? I just found out Cordell Jackson just passed away.
Yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's too bad.
I played a set of her stuff last week. She was great. I'd gotten a couple crazy letters from her a few years ago, and
person.
Yeah. Did you ever see the great film Daniel Rose did of her? Kind of like a video of her shooting pool and playing and driving around in her matching canary yellow Cadillac and driving up to her canary yellow house.
To match her blonde hair.
Yeah. Oh, wow. She's great. You know, it's totally inspiring to see people like that again who've made it a lifestyle.
Yeah.
You know, it's not something that stops at 23.
As you know, once you've been infected by this stuff, there's no cure. You know, it's true, isn't it? I don't think radiation would help. It might make it worse.
Yeah, no. I mean, once you dig it, you can't quit. There's no quota.
Thrill after thrill.
Wild for kicks.
And the kicks keep on coming. And while I got you here, I got to ask you about a mutual hero we share. Of course, the radio legend Pete Myers, best known as Mad Daddy. And Lux, you were able to hear Mad Daddy, and he cast a long shadow over
I actually talked to him on the phone when he left Cleveland the week that he left to go to New York to be snubbed. I called him on the phone and I told him that I was the head of his fan club in Stowe, Ohio, and he believed that and talked to me. I actually had a little 3-inch tape recording of it, that 3-inch reel-to-reel that I recorded with my friends, and my parents threw it away. They were afraid that this was going to be a bad influence. It was very insightful.
They were on the money.
He talked to me. He talked to me on the phone for like a couple of minutes in rhyme, just like on the radio show. And then afterwards, he said, "Look, I'm going to get the operator back. You can't afford this. You shouldn't be." And he said, "I'm going to pay for this call."
Wow.
He was just, and that actually happened just like that. And it didn't show up on my friend's, but we thought we'd have to explain that later, and it didn't show up.
What a hero.
Yeah.
Now, what is it about Ohio? Because not only did it spawn, Screamin' Jay Hawkins out of Cleveland, and all those great garage band records and instrumental records on scads of oddball labels. Then Alan Freed came to prominence there, Mad Daddy, and then you had Ghoulardi. Well,
I think it's because it's the asshole of the earth. And I think that those kids know there's no way out. Don't believe anything anybody. I think that's where the counterculture of the '60s started. Was probably the Ghoulardi. Those kind of people. The kids were listening to that. Waiting to hear the next out of control bad thing happen that they didn't see anywhere else. And those guys delivered. That's their whole thing. Like Mad Daddy, when he locked himself in the control room for 2 weeks and played some horrifyingly bad record, they just let him do it. They didn't even stop him. He just went on and on and on forever, and he could do it because they couldn't stop him, because it was the most highest rating that they ever had in broadcasting history. There, everybody would not leave their radio. He's just standing in there ranting, endlessly.
I mean, make no mistake about it. The stuff truly was subversive. People have a Happy Days notion of the 50s and early 60s and malt shops. Yeah. This is pretty outrageous.
Yeah,
stuff.
These are my memories of the 50s. I hear people talking about how uptight the 50s were and how how it was so square, and how things changed in the 60s and stuff. I thought it started in the 50s, with rock and roll, with white kids loving black musicians and stuff like that. Before that, it was like it was racism everywhere. It was this is the beginning of the world as we know it today. Was starting then. It didn't start in 1968.
And not to hammer on a conspiracy theory, but again, it was all these small record labels and radio stations and local TV stations could do kind of weird stuff. The opportunity existed, and some of them exploited it.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, most of them were talking so fast and such drive talk, nobody knew what they were saying anyhow, except the kids.
But it's odd about Ohio and Cleveland, because even when we were there in the 70s, Kid Leo, WMMS, it's, wasn't as wild as all else we've been talking about, but compared probably to what was happening elsewhere in the nation, was really good, cutting edge. He'd play like an entire album when it came out.
I mean, that's where the first rock and roll show happened, was at the Cleveland Arena. And like they expected 3,000 kids to show up, and 30,000 kids showed up, so it didn't happen. It was a riot instead, and they had to cancel it and have it, a month later or something like that.
That's fantastic. And to return to Ghoulardi a little bit, did you have a chance to watch him or? Oh,
every week, all everybody I knew, you had to be home in time to watch Ghoulardi. It was just out of control. But Mad Daddy, you were talking about the wavy thing around his head and everything. Mad Daddy actually started that before Ghoulardi. That wavy thing, and when he was a horror movie host on WJW, but he was a bat, so it was just his head that was wavy thing around the oscillating around the outside of the screen, and then his head upside down on the TV screen with a light on him, and because he was a bat hanging upside down.
He also
you'd stand there and watch him, and it was an upside down head on your TV set. It was real. That was really amazing.
And there's an old ad from an air check where he sold Batty Bucks, where kids could get shoes.
I had a pair.
You had a pair of Batty Bucks?
Batty Bucks.
Wow.
They were like brown hush puppies, but they had a big black bat on the front of them, right? With the laces went through the bat.
This is something you got to sell at your shows. Have some
Maybe
Cramps Batty
we
Bucks.
should make reach into the Batty Bucks.
Yeah, that's when I first became a star at school with my Batty Bucks.
That's great. Yeah, it's like terrorize the fifth graders.
And there were Ghoulardi shakes, didn't you say? Were like
I was constantly sick from the Ghoulardi,
the
big Ghoulardi milkshakes.
Well, they were blue, right?
They were
dyed in
kind
blue
of fluorescent green, blue-green.
Uh-huh. So I've got one of those old Manners mugs, and you could see through the bottom of it.
Mm-hmm.
So any other radio heroes over the years?
Those were the two big
The two biggies,
Yeah, there was nothing spectacular in Sacramento. There was,
Right.
Johnny Hyde was the local guy. It wasn't that great. And I guess the other interesting ones we've heard was later was the Dewey Phillips. Of
Oh,
course,
sure.
it's really cool.
The pill-fueled
And who's
frenzy.
Jazz Bill Collins. That we weren't exposed to growing up.
Also, Tim Conway was there with Ghoulardi at that same time and everything. So he was doing some pretty wacky stuff. Now, it was called Tom Conway then, but he was doing some crazy stuff. And there was another disc jockey, I can't remember his name, but he'd make up these long, elaborate stories. I can't remember his name, but it was really great. He'd have a story about the kid that was going to Washington to these things would go on for 2 minutes about a kid going to Washington, and he was so excited about getting to the Washington Monument to see the Washington Monument, but you had to sign in before you went in there, and these two nuns were signing the book and everything, and the kid was trying to run past him. His mother was holding him and everything like that, and the kid says, "I want to go, Mom. I want to go, Mom." And the mother said to him, "Wait till the nuns sign, Shelley." And he'd do dumbass things like that. He'd just make this stuff up on and on and on. But I can't even remember his name.
Wow. Now, you guys have always been big movie fans, horror films, monster movies. That's informed a lot of what the Cramps do.
I think those things are like little nightmares. They're usually made by one or two people and who had the idea and filmed it, and they're most of the time don't make any sense on normal people's level, but they make so much sense. It's like looking at some kind of a real Dada or a surrealist painting or something. On some other level, it makes much more sense than anything you encounter in normal everyday life.
I guess I might be considered a less discerning film fan, because if there were some good lines of dialogue and a weird character actor in a movie, I'm happy. I'm glad I'm watching.
You've got to love Blood Feast just for the line where the two detectives are standing there. I remember, and they're looking at each other, and then the one looks down. Supposedly he's looking down at the desk and says, "Looks like another long, hard one."
Bill Kerwin at his best.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any movies listeners should know about? Just a quick checklist of anything you'd want to hip them to.
I guess one of our latest tangents is the Misty Monday movies.
Those are good new ones. Don't check out Spider Babe.
That's
a great one.
Yeah.
Spider Babe is great.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing, too, is that it doesn't have to be horror movies. And it can be actual good movies, too, that are worth seeing.
I know. They're making a movie about the Cramps right now. It's going to be a Misty Monday is going to play Ivy, and Jim Carrey is playing me, and it's directed by Tinto Brass. It's going to be amazing.
Are you serious?
Well, right now it's only in my mind, but it's coming soon.
Coming to an imaginary double feature near you. Yeah. I hate to admit this, but I have I dream about finding stuff, going to a garage sale or whatever, and then you don't have a car to take it home, or you can't figure out how to get all this stuff.
A frustrating dream, I see.
Or somebody's gonna pick up, or somebody standing right next to you is gonna go, "Wow, it's the one that it's Stormy Weather by the Five Sharps."
Yeah, right ahead of you.
This is worth $87,000. Of course, I'll never sell it, so it's worth nothing. But
I remember having a very vivid dream of coming across a 50s motel that was going out of business, and they were getting rid of everything with the coin-operated bed vibrators and all the cool stuff, and I was just panicking on how to get this in and then shoehorn it into the apartment, and then I woke up and had some Cocoa Puffs. Yeah, yeah. So continuing on with Road Apple's smallest crowd you ever played for?
Two sailors in Washington, D.C.
What a great crowd.
They didn't promote the show properly. I think the deal was that we were supposed to be there Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, or Thursday and Friday. But the first day we were there hadn't been advertised, so no one was there but these two drunken sailors. And we're there. We didn't have anything else to do.
They were doing
with
cartwheels in front of us.
And so we played. It was like, okay, well, we're here. It's kind of, too bad. But, and they just went nuts. They didn't know who we were. I don't know why they were there. They were just there to drink. They were drunk.
It was also the weirdest audience, because there was actually three people there. There were the two drunken sailors, and there was a rock critic that stayed like 100 feet away in the back of the room with a typewriter. And he was doing a review of it with a typewriter, and I thought, well, this is what rock music is all about today.
Wow.
A band, two drunken sailors, and a rock critic writing with a typewriter.
That's right up there with Napa State Hospital.
Yeah,
I would think. How about the most ridiculous request you've ever received? An earnest request.
Well, we had a record company executive when we were on a certain label, when we did some radio benefit, which they're never really benefits. They just claim that their expenses were high, but whatever. But we were told to do this radio, big, I'm talking about these like chain radio, whatever you call that, the Edge or whatever, and it was a Christmas time thing with a lot of bands, and this certain executive asked, will you sing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer with this other band that was on the bill? They might be giants, so we also like too. They're really cool guys.
After we finish Surfin' Bird, and we're going to get together with all these other bands and sing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
And we thought it was kind of like, that's funny, and he says, no, I mean it. And like, so that
I mean it, or you're fired.
So definitely the most ridiculous request would be from a record company executive, a major label record company.
I did sing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer for him, though, while they were playing Surfin' Bird. So everybody was happy in the end.
A unique hybrid.